I was stranded at a truck stop somewhere west of Amarillo. The rain was coming down in sheets, my radiator running dry. An old man in a weathered coat was sitting by the window, reading clouds like scripture pages in that Texas sky. He looked at me and nodded slow, said, "Son, you look defeated." I said, "My truck broke down, my luck ran out, got nowhere left to go." He poured another cup of joe and smiled like he had seen it. Said, "Boy, let me tell you something that you need to know." He said, "I've been reading storms for 40 years or more. Every cloud that rolls across this prairie floor has a story in its belly and a lesson in its rain. You can't outrun the weather, son, but you can learn its name." He said, "I started watching skies when I was barely 20. Lost my daddy's farm to drought, thought my world was through. But then I learned that every storm brings water to the empty, and every clear day follows what you thought would drown you too." His hands were cracked like riverbeds, his eyes were clear as morning. He traced the patterns on the glass where raindrops made their way. You see that break of blue up there? That's tomorrow's warning, that this storm you're sitting in won't last another day. He said, "I've been reading storms for 40 years or more. Every cloud that rolls across this prairie floor has a story in its belly and a lesson in its rain. Can't outrun the weather, son, but you can learn its name." Now when the pressure starts to build and dark clouds start to gather, I think about that weatherman, what he said to me. Sometimes you gotta let it pour before the skies get bright. Sometimes the storm's the only way to set your spirit free. My radiator's running fine now, been 10 years since that meeting, but I still pull off the truck stops when storms roll in. And I watch the sky for lessons as that old man was teaching about riding out the thunder and waiting for the wind. I've been reading storms for 10 years now or more. Every cloud that rolls across this prairie floor has a story in its belly and a lesson in its rain. You can't outrun the weather, but you can learn its name. You can't outrun the weather, but you can learn its name. You can't outrun the weather. I was heading down to Millbrook just to clear my weary head, when I found him by the water wheel, this old man nearly dead. His hands were white with flour dust, his back bent from years. He looked at me and smiled a bit and said, "Come over here. You gotta know when to grind it, know when to let it rest, know when to work the grain and know when it's blessed. You never count the bushels while they're sitting on the mill. There'll be time enough for counting when the wheel stands still." He said, "I've worked this mill for 40 years through drought and flood and rain. I've seen young men come rushing in, all eager for the gain. But grain takes time to settle right, can't hurry what won't bend.
Sometimes the wisest thing to do is wait until the end. You gotta know when to grind it, know when to let it rest, know when to work the grain, and know when it's blessed. You never count the bushels while they're sitting on the mill. There'll be time enough for counting when the wheel stands still. Son, I've learned through all these seasons there's a rhythm to this trade. Some folks think they know it all, but patience can't be made. The water flows when it's ready, the stone turns when it will. And sometimes the hardest lesson is to just be standing still. Now every time I'm rushing, trying to force my way, I hear that old man's wisdom in the words he used to say. You got to know when to grind it, know when to let it rest, know when to work the grain, and know when it's blessed. You never count the bushels while they're sitting on the mill. There'll be time enough for counting when the wheel stands still. There'll be time enough for counting when the wheel stands still. You were sitting by the bus stop, flower on your shirt, said you'd been mixing dough since dawn, hands calloused and hurt. I asked where you were heading, you just smiled and shook your head. Son, sometimes the journey matters more than where you're led. You said, sometimes the journey matters more. You can't rush the rising, that's what you told me. Like bread needs its time, so does a man. So you see, the heat comes later, but first you gotta wait. You can't rush the rising, you can't rush the rising. That's the baker's way. You talked about the mornings when the oven wouldn't light, how you'd stand there in the darkness wondering if you'd done it right. 40 years of kneading dough, you said, taught me how to be patient with the process, even when I couldn't see. You said, patient with the process, you can't rush the rising. That's what you told me. Like bread needs its time, so does a man. So you see, the heat comes later, but first you gotta wait. You can't rush the rising, you can't rush the rising. That's the baker's way. When that bus finally came around, you stood up slow and looked me down. Remember what I'm telling you, some things just take the time they do. You can't rush the rising. Now I'm standing at my own crossroads, thinking what you said, how you turned your daily labor into wisdom I could take instead. Every time I wanna hurry, push too hard against the grain, I remember you there waiting, patient through your years of pain. You said, patient through the pain. You can't rush the rising. That's what you told me. Like bread needs its time, So does a man, so you see that he comes later. But first you gotta wait, you can't rush the rising. You can't rush the rising, that's the baker's way. You can't rush the rising, that's the baker's way. Stop for gas on Highway 9, rain's coming down. Old man sitting by the dock, his boat tied to the ground. Said he'd been there 30 years, watching seasons change. Lines in water, lines on his face, everything rearranged. He said patience ain't just waiting, it's trusting what you can't see. Fish know when you're ready. La la la. Let the current carry thee. About his father's boat, how he learned to cast. Some days you pull up empty nets, but some days they come back fast. But the ones that keep on fishing when the water's cold and gray, they're the ones who understand what the river's trying to say. He said patience ain't just wait, it's trusting what you can't see. Fish know when you're ready. La 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 la. Let the current carry thee. Now when life gets overwhelming and I'm fighting with the tide, I remember that old fisherman and what he said that night. Patience ain't just waiting, it's trusting what you can't see. The fish know when you're ready. La la la. Let the current carry thee. La 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 la. Still drive by that highway dark when the world gets too loud. Think about those weathered hands, the wisdom he passed down. Met a man down by the railway yard, hammer heavy in his weathered hands. Say he'd been forging steel for 60 years, through the boom and bust across this land. Sweat and sparks, they tell their tale. Fire burns, but iron never fails. When the world gets cold and hearts grow hard, you You gotta keep the flame, son, that's the art. He said, strike while the iron's hot, boy, but know when to let it cool. Every bit needs time to settle. That's the old blacksmith's rule. Strike while the iron's hot. That's the old blacksmith's rule. Told me about the bridges that he built, how some buckled, some still stand today. He said the metal's only strong as its foundation, and patience pays in every single way. But when the pressure mounts and time runs thin, remember what shapes us from within. But every crack can make you stronger, son, if you face the heat and don't outrun. He said, strike while the iron's hot, boy, but know when to let it cool. Every bit needs time to settle. That's the old blacksmith's rule. Strike while the iron's hot. That's the old blacksmith's rule. Oh yeah. Now when trouble comes my way, I hear that old man say, fire and patience work as one. Strike while the iron's hot, boy, but know when to let it cool. Every bit needs time to settle. That's the old blacksmith's rule. Strike while the iron's hot. That's what he told me. That's the old blacksmith's rule. Strike while the iron's hot.
There's a man down on 5th Street working wood with calloused hands. I stopped to watch him plane aboard. The shavings hers fell like autumn leaves. He said, measure twice, once. Cut once, son. His shop smelled of sawdust and time. Tools hung neat on every wall. Each had its place, each had its use. Like the words he chose so well, he said, measure twice, cut once, son. La da da da, la da da, la da da da. Da da da. I told him how I lost my way, made choices fast without much thought. He smiled and ran his thumb along, piece of oak, smooth as glass. He said, measure twice, Years have passed since that day, but when I face a choice to make, I hear his voice above the noise, a rushing world and hasty words. He said, measure twice, cut once, son. There's wisdom in the carpenter's way. Take your time, the work will wait. You remember that summer when we were 18, down by Miller's Pond with the radio on. We had nothing but time in that old truck of mine, and you said you'd never leave this town. Those Friday nights at the county fair, you wore that blue dress in your hair. We danced till dawn, didn't have a care. Now I'm wondering where the hell you are. Damn good times, damn good times, when loving you was easy and the world was kind. Oh, damn good times. I drive these back roads every single night, past the places where we used to fight about nothing much, just being young and dumb, but we always made it right somehow. Daddy said I wasn't good enough, called me trouble when things got rough, but you held my hand through it all, my love, till you decided you'd had enough. Damn good times, damn good times, when loving you was easy and the world was kind. Oh, damn good times. Now you're married with a house in town, and I'm still here just hanging around. Sometimes I wonder if you think about those damn good times we had. I saw you yesterday at Murphy's store. You looked right through me like you done before. Guess some things ain't worth remembering when you live in a different dream. But I still got that old truck of mine, and Miller's Pond still looks just fine, though the radio don't sound the same without you singing along. Damn good times, damn good times, when loving you was easy and the world was kind. Oh, damn good times. Oh, damn good times. Oh, la la la, la la, damn good time. Oh,
You said you'd call me when summer came around, but seasons keep on turning and I ain't heard a sound. Time don't wait for words unsaid. Time don't wait for hearts misled. All the years we could have had slip away like morning mist. Time don't wait. Time don't wait. There's a photo on my dresser from that 4th of July. Your hand was holding mine then, now I'm wondering why. Time don't wait for words unsaid. Time don't wait for hearts misled. All the years we could have had slip away like morning mist. Time don't wait. Time don't wait. Maybe you're out there somewhere thinking about me too. Maybe you're counting seasons like I always do. If I could turn back August to that night by the lake, I'd tell you what I'm feeling before it gets too late. Time don't wait for words unsaid. Time don't wait for hearts misled. All the years we could have had slip away like morning mist. Time don't wait. Time don't wait. Time don't wait. No, time don't wait. Down where the water runs slow, where the willows still grow, Old Creek Road. I was 17, you were sweet 16. Down on Old Creek Road, where the summer lingered long, your daddy's porch light kept us safe at night. On Old Creek Road, where we carved our names in stone. Old Creek Road still calls my name. Through the years, nothing's quite the same, but I can close my eyes and feel you there. Old Creek Road takes me back to where we'd park your daddy's truck when we ran out of luck. Down on Old Creek Road, where the fireflies would dance, you'd wear that yellow dress, I'd hold you to my chest. On Old Creek Road, where we made our teenage plans. Old Creek Road still calls my name. Through the years, nothing's quite the same, but I can close my eyes and feel you there. Old Creek Road takes me back to where time moves on like that old creek, washes away what we used to be. But some things stay, some things never leave. Oh, they never leave. I drive past there sometimes just to ease my restless mind. Down on Old Creek Road, where the willows bend to sway, the porch light's burning out, but I still hear you laugh. On Old Creek Road, where my heart decided to stay. Old Creek Road still calls my name. Through the years, nothing's quite the same. But I can close my eyes and feel you there. Old Creek Road takes me back to where, down where the water runs slow, where our love used to roll. Old Creek Road, Old Creek Road. Mama, I've been wandering down these dusty roads. Years have come and gone now, carrying heavy loads. But your voice keeps calling through the wind and rain, telling me it's time now to come back home again. Back home to where the porch lights burn, and back home where love was always true. Back home to all I've been yearning. Mama, I'm coming back to you. Back home. Remember Sunday morning, church bells ringing clear, sweet tea on the front steps, wishing I was near. But all them big city promises, they just fade away when I hear you humming that old hymn you used to play. Back home where the porch lights burn, and back home where love was always true. Back home to all I've been yearning. Mama, Mama, I'm coming back to you. Back home. I can see you standing in that faded dress, arms wide open waiting to forgive this mess. Distance don't mean nothing when your heart knows the way. Back home to where the porch lights burn, and back home where love was always true. Back home to all I've been yearning. Mama, I'm coming back to you. Back home.
Met him at the harbor, rain was coming down. Old man mending nets there, salt and weathered brown. Didn't say much to me, just nodded at the shore. Said, boy, you look like someone who don't know what for. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Let the wind decide which way you're going. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Oh, sometimes you gotta sail, la la la, la la, into the storm, la la la, la la. Sometimes you gotta sail, running from the trouble and running from the pain. I said, son, I've been sailing through sunshine and through rain. The calm will fool you, make you think you're safe. Storms teach you lessons that fair weather can't make. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Let the wind decide which way you're going. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Oh, sometimes you gotta sail, la la la, la la la, into the storm, la la la, la la la. Sometimes you gotta sail. He pointed to the water where the waves were crashing high. That's where boats get stronger, that's where sailors learn to fly. Sometimes you gotta sail. Sometimes you gotta sail. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Let the wind decide which way you're going. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm. Oh, sometimes you gotta sail, la la la, la la la, into the storm, la la la, la la la. Sometimes you gotta sail. Sometimes you gotta sail into the storm.